So after Unchained Key covered all the story parts of Key, both the Japanese version and international versions went through a rebrand. The app was then called Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. This served as a direct sequel to Unchained Key. This included a lot of stuff like a new multiplayer, PvP, and of course, a new story. The story still mainly follows you, but this time you also share a spotlight with the Union leaders of the new world. As always, we got Disney Worlds. And just like last time, I'm gonna be summarizing them first before handling the rest. We got some new worlds this time. For example, Castle of Dreams. During your first visit, you give off a message to Cinderella and help Jack, or Jacques, I forgot, finish the dress she wants to wear for the ball. The second visit is post-ball, and it mostly consists of you taking down Heartless to make sure she gets the chance to wear the glass slipper. You make a return to Agrabah, and this time it follows the movie. But there is this part where you help Jafar find the dungeon that holds the lamp. There's also this part at the end where you get to fight Jafar as both his snake and genie form, which was of course peak. While chasing down a Heartless, you enter Enchanted Dominion. After that, movie stuff happens and Aurora ends up in a comatose state because of good old Maleficent. During your second visit here, you help the prince and the fairies take down Maleficent once again and break the curse. But that's not all, cause this time you also have a new set of friends. This group consists of a girl in pink attire, a kid with a white afro, a boy with a Moogle hat, and a girl with a pink headband. None of them have names. You do all sorts of things with them. Missions, training, you guys even go to the beach. Just fun stuff altogether. You also go to the Disney Worlds you've already visited and completed to check if everything is going well there. Alright, now that that's out of the way, I think we can finally start with, well, the cool stuff. As Ava got her role from the Master of Masters, she immediately told Ephemer the details. He and 4 other Dandelions will be chosen to lead a union. The candidates have been predetermined by the Master. They will be the only ones who will know about the end of the world. But that's not all. On a piece of paper that includes the names of all the union leaders, one of the names is circled in red. This person will get their own copy of the Book of Prophecies. The Master tells Ava that the book is needed to shape the world the way it needs to be shaped. This piece of info needs to remain unknown to the other leaders. So, the Master tells Ava to give the book to that person in secret. After the end of the world, the Dandelions, and you, get transported to the next world. In there, all your memories of the war and the time of tension leading up to it get erased. Well, more so repressed. This goes for the other Dandelions as well. Your charities will still remember this. And to make sure that your memories will stay repressed, you and the others repeat your journey through Disney worlds, and the new ones, with your friends. The new chosen union leaders were told to meet at the battlefield after everything was said and done. The first 3 of them to arrive were Ephemer, Skald, and... You know what? I'm gonna let you guess. If you chose D, you're right, it's Ventus. And yes, this is the same Ventus from Birth by Sleep. This is not a new character. But no worries, it will all make sense in the end. But do you know who is a new character? The 4th person to arrive. His name is Brain, a self-proclaimed lazy-ass who seems to question Ava's trustworthiness, asking if the rules given to them are set in stone or just recommended. What could he be up to? I don't know, keep watching. He does say that he trusts Ephemer with guiding them to the right path. Now, before I go and show you the 5th leader, we get a little introduction of them. Meet Strelitzia, a fellow Keyblade wielder and Dandelion. And she's also your secret admirer. She first saw you when you were waiting for Ephemer at the fountain. Ever since, she saw you everywhere, every day. No matter what world you were in, you and Strelitzia were there at the same moment. But between you and her, she was the only one aware of this. Even at moments like your fight with the Zed or the clash of the foretellers, she saw you. And she knew you were aware of something unknown. She really wanted to become friends with you, but unfortunately, she never could muster up the strength to say hi to you. Boy, do I feel that. Now, rewind back to key time, presumably sometime after Alpha asked you and Skull to become Dandelions. So one day, Master Alpha goes to Strelitzia and, simply put, she gets chosen to become a new union leader. She accepts it, but, like you, she is worried about the ones that are gonna be left behind, despite the fact that all her friends are already Dandelions. She then remembers that you're not one yet, and decides to go and recruit you. The next day, because it's dark outside. It is highly important for your health that you get enough sleep. The next morning, she waits at Fountain Square for you. Her charity spots you somewhere and notifies Strelitzia, who immediately goes there. After searching the area and checking in the last building, she doesn't find you. So she goes back to Fountain Square and the charity continues looking. That is until... Well, moving on, with her story concluded, we get the fifth and final union leader revealed. It's a new character named Laurium. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what you want to say. And I'm here to tell you right now. You're correct. He says he was late because he was looking for something and lost track of time. But anyways, with his arrival, the new union leaders have been revealed and united. Okay, as their first order of business, they need to decide on unions, and what union is led by which person. But Ephemer suggests postponing that idea and letting things be as they are currently for a bit longer. He thinks stuff like this should be discussed in length and wants to avoid repeating the mistakes the previous foretellers made. And as per Laurium's suggestion, they decide on the foreteller thingy and will keep it a secret until the training of the Dandelions has been completed. Brain then changes the subject with a first task, giving everybody a spirit, as in the Dream Eater. Since Dream Eaters feed off nightmares, they could be used to accelerate the process of forgetting the war trauma. So they split up, one group gets the materials, and the other group gets ready to create the archetype. This takes a while, so let's see how Maleficent's doing. So a little while after Maleficent gets beaten for the third time? We see her back at the castle, moping about how and why she constantly gets defeated and why the future never alters. And then she hears this. And here we got the villain of this part in the saga, Darkness. Not exactly the same darkness as before, but we'll get to that later. Darkness over here tells Maleficent it knows why she's here. She went to the past to erase her defeat and collect the 7 Hearts of Light. But she doesn't know shit about time travel, so it explains it to her. And I will explain it to you. So when it comes to time traveling Kingdom Hearts, it is believed by many that you can only go backwards. And when doing so, you can only go to a period of time where a version of you exists. But to be able to time travel in the first place, your heart and body must be separated. Maleficent did so during the Hollow Bastion arc of Kingdom Hearts 1, when Riku stabbed her right in the heart. This kinda jogged her memory and made her remember this method, which she learned from the one and only Xehanort. Thinking this was her chance time, she used that opportunity to separate herself from her body and go back in time. And that's how Maleficent did so. But the thing is, the Master of Masters knew she would do this. Most likely because of the Book of Prophecies. This is why Enchanted Dominion exists now, even though it didn't pre-Keyblade War. This world serves as a sort of trap for her. Darkness then also goes on about how the book works. So the worlds you and the others went through were pulled from the future through the book. After the war happened, the foretellers disappeared. The memories of you and everyone else were overridden, and said future worlds became unreachable. But these worlds were recreated with the use of data. This also includes the new ones. Those are the worlds you and everyone else have been going through after Key and during Unchained Key. Maleficent is now in Data Enchanted Dominion, and because it is Data, the ending is pretty much unchanging. This is a lot, I know. Maleficent believes Darkness trapped her in here in fear of her power, but it's actually due to the probability of bringing knowledge from the past to the future. Which is why the Data worlds only consist of 6 that have pure light hearts, because it didn't want Maleficent to learn what happens in World 7. But Maleficent can't stay too long here, so she must return back to her own time. Technically, time travel to the future is impossible, but it isn't. So back to the new foretellers, some time passes and a gathering is happening. But Lauriam is absent. Ephemer talks about a part in the notebook they got talking about Shift Pride, a paragraph that goes about the part of Keyblade wielders fighting each other. Ephemer proposes the idea of wielders fighting the data versions of other wielders, so they don't actually turn the Keyblades on one another. So yeah, there are data worlds and data people. He mentions that he got the idea when Lauriam talked to him about going through the data of several people, since he's looking for someone who was supposed to become a Dandelion. As Lauriam is looking for said missing person, he comes in contact with a certain someone, a girl named Elrena. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what you want to say. And I'm here to tell you right now. You're correct. Again. Lauriam reached out to Elrena to ask her about his sister Strelitzia. Oh no. So Elrena is the only person Strelitzia ever mentioned to Lauriam, so he thought she maybe had a clue about where she is. But she knows nothing. According to Elrena, they weren't what you would call friends, despite being in the same party. This gives Lauriam a bit more context, that her disappearance happened before the war. Elrena then theorizes that her charity might have a better idea on what happened to her, since she and Strelitzia's charity were friends with each other. Shirith E then tells Lauriam about how Strelitzia was waiting for someone, and how they wanted to invite them to the Dandelions, and also mentions last seeing her before the bells, as in the bells that heralded the end. Also how when she heard the announcement of the new union leaders, one of the names sounded familiar, that name being Skulls. This gives Lauriam an even better picture, being sure that she disappeared before the war and assuming this someone is the key to finding her. While Lauriam goes back, Elrena goes into the house looking for potential clues. Back at the tower, Lauriam goes to Skuld and immediately asks her about what she might know relating to this. After the explanation, Lauriam suspects there's a chance she might have gotten caught up in the war trying to save the someone. With all this, Ephemer says he might know who the someone is. It's you. Ephemer and you meet up at Fountain Square and talk for a bit. You meet Laurium and answer his questions, which, of course, you have no clue about. Afterwards, Laurium says he needs to go somewhere and Ephemer wants to spend some time with you, which you guys do. Before Laurium goes, he does ask of you, as odd as this may sound to you, to keep his sister in your heart, to which you say you will. And while you and Ephemer spend some time together, Laurium goes back to Arena, telling her he found out some stuff. Arena and her Shirthi say they've done so as well. When they went into the house Trilicia was last seen in, they tried looking for clues but got nothing. Although, when they decided to leave, a hologram showed up out of nowhere. A hologram of Strelitzia moments before her passing. But that's not all. Arena's Shirthi remembered the conversation they had with Strelitzia's Shirthi. In that conversation, they mentioned something about a war, which confuses the both of them. Arena because according to her it didn't happen, and Laurium because he is unaware of her being chosen to be one of the new leaders, who are the only ones that still kept their memories of the war. He then suspects that Brain may know something. Speaking of which... Back at the tower, again, Ven and Skald notice how Brain has been reading ever since they've gotten there, leading to Brain telling them that he has a plan. What is the plan? Well, he believes that the overriding memories thing didn't change anything, and that they're still on the path to inevitable destruction. He's planning to change that by becoming a virus and overwrite the program that is the world's future. In his words, at least. A tad bit later, the world starts glitching. As Skald and Ven are contemplating Brain's words, a hologram of Alpha and the Master shows up out of nowhere. Ven goes to get Brain. Brain notices the glitches and says, you and Ephemer notice a weird cloud hanging over the tower and immediately go there. You guys encounter Ventus and some Darklings. You beat them and the glitches stop, for now. After this, the three of you go to Brain. So you meet him in the computer room. Ephemer asks him what is happening and he decides to give his explanation as simple as possible. And so will I. Before the war, you could go through Disney worlds via the Book of Prophecies, who projected them from the future. But the book wasn't necessary for traveling to these worlds, because they were all connected to Daybreak Town by land, a whole Disney Pangea. You could have gone to the present-day versions of the Disney worlds, although it wouldn't be as easy. After the Keyblade War, these worlds broke apart. This was written in the Book of Prophecies, so data versions of these worlds were created in preparation for that. Because of this, you and the others are still able to go to these worlds and the future without the book. Now, as for the Dandelions, they visited those data worlds through the virtual Daybreak Town. So, something like this. Or at least, that's how it's supposed to be. According to Brain, they should be in the real Daybreak Town right now, but those glitches say otherwise. He also says that this world is now connected to a place that doesn't exist in this world or time, somehow. Y'all know nothing about it, other than the fact that the glitches started when you're connected to the place. Connection with it cannot be severed, but Brain did manage to stabilize it, and says you'll have to check it out to get some answers. You and Ephemer go into it. Your job is to stabilize the road. Brain will stabilize the way so travel will be more safer from their end. You enter the area and it looks like a road of pipes? With Heartless, of course. You go further and further into it and encounter another Darkling. These damn things. For some reason, the Darkling keeps saying, "not you." And it eventually escapes to the other end of the bridge. Let's call it the bridge. You two go after it, and then you find yourself in the new world. It's the game's central station from Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah, this was the new place the data world connected with. While you guys scope it out, a bunch of glitches infiltrate Fix-It Felix Jr., and the Darkling goes to Hero's duty. You and Ephemer decide to split up. You investigate the glitches, and Ephemer chases the Darkling. You arrive in Niceland, and come to find out there's also Heartless in here. And of course, you take them down. You eventually make your way to the top of the building and fight Ralph, who suspects you of going turbo. A bit later, Shanty suggests asking him if he knows anything about the recurring glitches. And then movie things happen. You then investigate the area for glitches and Heartless. But because of said glitches and Heartless and the fact Ralph left, the game is labeled out of order, and you go out to find Ralph. Oh, and one other thing, you and Shanty suspect Ralph of being linked to the Heartless. Because, well, you know, he's a bad guy, and bad guys tend to have darkness within them. Fast forward to the part where Ralph goes to Hero's duty, and we follow him there. You're now in Cybuck's sector. In other words, you're cooked. You fight a bunch of bugs and glitches and follow Ralph's little meadow quest at the top of the tower. As Ralph makes his way to Sugar Rush, you encounter Ephemer again. A few Cybucks, another fight against the Darkling, and another not you later, the Darkling gets eaten by a Cybuck, causing the two to fuse. Huh? You guys quickly chase after it and defeat it. You then tell Ephemer everything you've discovered. Ephemer asks you to continue the investigation while he heads back to inform the others about the Darklings. And so, you split. Flashback from about 5 years ago. The Master of Masters tells Luciu about the Keyblade War that transpired when he was young. A war between wielders of light and monsters of the dark. Only the monsters in question looked human. According to the Master, the war dates back to the time darkness took that form and is still going on as they speak. In his eyes, the war wasn't about to begin, and possibly might finally end. The reason it couldn't end before was because of darkness's ability to change shape and hide among humans. He then recites the end and rebirth of the world, saying that light cannot be erased from the hearts of kids. And neither can darkness. A worried Luciu talks about the Master taking the back seat in all of the ongoings. The Master worries a lot less, because he has Alpha to gather the Dandelions. The Master calls the Dandelions the cornerstones of the new world. Luciu then asks, but they can all come back home after they're done, right? To which the Master says, maybe not all of them. Back in present time, Brain fills Scald and Laurium in on the whole data world stuff going on, and Ephemer gives his report. Laurium mentions he saw a glitch of his sister and asked Brain if he might have a clue on why and how. With everything happening, Brain becomes unsure about them being in the real world after all. Scald thinks they can't get back. Brain is gonna try to figure out a way. As Ventus asks why all this is happening, Brain says that someone must be behind this. Theorizing the data world they're in was always meant to be cut off from the real world for a reason. As he goes downstairs, we come to find out that he got a copy of the Book of Prophecies. 4 years ago. We get a flashback of Brain getting chosen to become a union leader. We see Brain's skepticism, him questioning the workings of the book, and him getting said book. Alpha then also gives him the list that contains the names of chosen wielders. No one must read them under any circumstances. So she places the list in between the pages wherein their fates are written. Back to present day again, Laurium asks Brain about Strelitzia and her knowing the war was gonna happen. Brain suspects that something caused her to be sure the war would happen, causing her to try and get you to join the Dandelions. This gives Brain an idea. He later talks to Ephemer at the same place where they've been told by Alpha they'd be union leaders. Here, Brain tells Ephemer about one of the leaders getting a copy of the book and shows him the note that has the names of the chosen leaders on it. Brain reveals that his name wasn't marked red, which means he wasn't supposed to get the book. Alpha gave it to him as a bet on the possibility this action could rewrite the future that was in the book. They also come to find out that Strelitzia was meant to be a union leader, though unlike Brain getting the book, they don't think this was something done by Alpha. Meanwhile, at Skuld and Ventus' place, oh, it's snowing. Cool. Alright, back to the story. Brain's Charity, who looks absolutely adorable, brings Skuld and Ventus to Brain and Ephemer. It was originally supposed to be the replacement only, but yeah. He then starts interrogating them both at once. Who told them they were chosen to be a union leader? Both say Master Ava. Where were they when she told them? Skuld says it was at the same spot they're at now. As for Ventus, it was near the clock tower? After this, Brain tells them about the book and the note with names, with one of them not matching. Now to just give a quick recap of that, Strelitzia was chosen to be a union leader and heard that there was a war coming. With this information, she tried to find us and get us to join the Dandelions. Unfortunately, she got killed by an unknown enemy and had her book stolen. This all happened right before the war started, so the possibility of a replacement being chosen, as Skuld theorized, was impossible. And even if it was, one of the leaders would have been notified about it. The questioning was done to check if the replacement was aware of all of this, and Ephemer and Brain made an agreement to not let anything change between the leaders with the truth out. So, going back to you for a second, you follow Felix and the lady to Sugar Rush, or Candy Kingdom as the world is called, and continue your investigation of Ralph and his connection to darkness. Your part of the story at this point is basically following the course of this movie. You do fight Ralph again and get asked of King Candy, what's his name? I don't know. To bring Penelope to him and such, but it's just the movie at this point. So anywho, Maleficent arrives at Daybreak Town. Darkness tells her this place holds the key to her returning home. It then also tells her to head for the tower. From there, she can get back to the real world and find the lifeboat that's hidden in it. What's the lifeboat? I'm glad you asked. It's a device made to escape the data world, though it remains incomplete, which means the lifeboat cannot sustain a passenger's body. So your body will be lost in the process of using it and only your heart will be transported. But Darkness says this is a benefit, because without a body, you're able to break the time barrier at the speed of light. As for how she can become a whole person again and not just a floating heart, it says she needs two things to be there at her destination. Someone with memories of her and a medium to form her body. A medium being basically one of her belongings, like for example her cloak. Maleficent is doubtful, but Darkness tells her it's legit, since the Book of Prophecy says that she exists in the future. The fact that Darkness knows what is written in the book, albeit not all of it, intrigues her. Later, as Maleficent finds her way into the tower, she asks Darkness who or what it is, to which it responds to think of it as an old friend. It also needs her to act as a waypoint. Seeing as she will go back with memories of Darkness, it may find its way to the future through her. Anyways, they make it to this lifeboat Darkness spoke of, and it looks awfully familiar. Anyway, as she is about to enter one of the pods, Laurium arrives and stands in her way. So after a little scuffle, Maleficent leaves, leaving Laurium wounded and one of the pods destroyed in the process. As she arrives in the real world and is about to go to the future, Darkness says it'll stay behind, for it has some unfinished business left. So the gang is now finally up to date. Ventus's name is not on the list and Strelitzia is dead. And the fact that she's dead is proof enough that this wasn't Ava's plan. As they guess who could have done this, they quickly come up with a culprit: Darkness. Since it can hide within people and is attracted to light, this seems to be the most probable possibility that Darkness disguised itself as Master Ava. They then get Ventus to remember his meeting with Ava, and he mentions that she told him to come to an old abandoned house. Yes, he did say tower first, but according to him, they met at that house and walked to the tower while talking, as Ventus remembers. He went to the house as he was told, and from there he went with Ava to the tower. He has absolutely no recollection of what happened before they left. Brain asks Ventus if the person he saw at the house was really Master Ava, but then Ventus gets a vague memory which distresses him. So they go back to the tower to think this all through. We then get a flashback, and I think it's best if I just let it play out for itself. Ventus has gone to sleep, and Brain, Skald, and Ephemer go through what they know so far. They know that Ventus was present during Strelitzia's last moments, and Darkness is suspected of orchestrating the whole ordeal. We then get another flashback about Luciu and the Master. Luciu is saddened by the fact they have to abandon the world, assuming that they can't beat the Darkness. The Master tells him he thinks too much, and says the answer to his problem will come in time. He just has to wait. But Luciu doesn't want to wait, so this also saddens him. The Master then tells Luciu that there is a way to beat the Darkness. One that takes time, more than that they can get in 2 lifetimes. Which is why, in the Master's own words, they have to bring this world to an end, to abandon the notion of time and what separates their worlds. Also, they can defeat the Darkness. We then get another flashback wherein we get to know a bit more about the Master's history with Darkness. He has spoken with Darkness before, although the conversation wasn't really a conversation, since they both had a very unconventional thought process and couldn't really get through one another. Luciu then asks about the possibility of the Dandelions coming in contact with Darkness. He responds with saying that anyone who does so is in for trouble, since they're unpredictable and good at mind games. So, maybe. He then talks about pure-hearted people, and how Darkness has an aversion to those people, and while Darkness can see what we're up to, they cannot comprehend the why. Ending it with saying that light and dark will always be at odds, since we just can't understand each other. The third flashback shows Luciu's concern for the Dandelions. And despite the Master's reassurance that things will be fine, since the book speaks of a future filled with light, he lets Luciu keep watch over the Dandelions. Back to the present, Ventus is still asleep and thinks back to that day. And we finally get to see the full picture of what happened. Going back to Ephemer and the others, they again suspect Darkness of orchestrating the whole Strelitzia case. And while it isn't thoroughly confirmed to them, it is the most logical possibility. This would also mean that they're close and aware of them being onto it, claiming they might be putting their plan in motion already and come for them just like they did for Strelitzia. As they're thinking through this, Laurium, still wounded from his fight with Maleficent, enters the room. He hears the part about Strelitzia being targeted and demands answers from Brain. And this time he's become very aggressive. Brain sees this as Darkness's plan to get them to turn on one another. Laurium falls to the ground and asks them to tell them what happened to his sister. Ventus then enters the room, and with his memories fully regained, he tearfully tells Laurium he is responsible for Strelitzia's death and apologizes. Laurium grabs him by the collar, Ventus's memories start spiraling, causing him to break down, and things just get worse. And then this happens. Darkness finally shows itself. Oh, and I don't think I need to say this, but just an FYI, this is not the same darkness that guided Maleficent. Anyway, it shows itself, Ephemer asks what it wants, and Darkness says they want nothing. They are. Whatever that means. According to them, their actions don't serve a greater purpose or goal. As for why they killed Strelitzia, that was because Ventus wanted it. Or better said, Ventus wanted power. Darkness gave him that power by taking down a union leader. It wasn't a necessary target, cause as they themselves say, power is power. How it is acquired is of no consequence. Which means that the reason for Strelitzia's death can be summed up as simply as she was the first one available. This of course angers Olorium and he goes for the attack. With little success. And after that, we get a little Q&A between Brain and Darkness. Question 1. Why Ventus? Because it was decided in the Book of Prophecies. Did you read the book? Yes, but only the parts that matter to me. How? By reading it as it was being written. What is your relationship with the Master of Masters? We're old friends. Ephemer's question. So you're on the same side? There's no need for us to side with people. Why show yourself now when you were hiding from us all this time? We were never hiding. You're just aware of our existence now, which got you to notice us. Last question. You keep saying we. What do you mean by that? Answer. Shadows outnumber light. Last question. Are you the only one here now? Answer. Yes. With that answer, Brain summons his Keyblade, and the battle against Darkness begins. Back at your side of the story, the world is now at the endgame of the movie. You fight the monster fight Turbo, Ralph does his thing, and the day is saved. As you're about to go to the finish line with the others, you stay for a bit because something catches your attention. After the battle, it disappears. Shirty then suddenly starts making a possible connection. Could the Darklings be attracted to Keyblade wielders the same way those cyborgs are attracted to the beacon? Who knows? We then get the happy ending of Wreck-It Ralph. And I think we all know how that goes. Shirty then goes on another thinking session, saying that a different version of you could be in your heart. Wondering what would happen if that version would be one of Darkness. But anyways, with that done, you can finally go back home. Surely things are still fine over there, right? We then get a cutscene of Lucio and the Master discussing the black box. It's pretty much the same as the one in back cover. The master gives the box to Luciu and tells him to keep it out of sight, watch the events unfold and do his thing when the time comes. Luciu asks what's inside the box, and the master says that it's a secret, and that the box can never be opened. Eventually he does whisper the contents of it in Luciu's ear. As Luciu asks why after hearing it, the master ends up giving him a single hint. When darkness strikes at dawn and the lifeboat departs, this world will have fulfilled its purpose. If that happens, you have to see it through to the end and take a quarter to a new world as fast as you can. Since the world is gonna end, they use their time to get these wielders ready to pass the torch on to the next generation, so they can make their mark in the future where darkness can be defeated. Then the sun will finally set on this duskless dawn, and our plan will have succeeded at last. Back to the battle against darkness. With Ephemer being the last person standing, Darkness offers to call it done. Brain says that he doesn't believe they're not after anything and claims it's still here for a reason. Darkness answers, infection. Data transfer requires a signal. The same goes for the hearts and minds of humans. You underestimate how easy the darkness rides on those signals and spreads through this place. Brain then asks it why it hid inside Ven, which its response is because it was written to be so in the book. Scald gets up, saying that the fact it was written in the book doesn't necessarily make it justifiable. Darkness then says that they are many and one, but to be one requires will. Through Ventus, they could divide into pure darkness and light, ending it by saying that this was a necessary sacrifice. Laurium wakes up and joins the fight, and shortly after, you come back into the picture. Laurium then exclaims how they will defeat it and go back to the real world with the lifeboat. Darkness then tells them that even if they do, Daybreak Town will still succumb to darkness. How exactly? Let me explain. So the lifeboat was the last line of defense to be relied upon in the event darkness could not be defeated. Its use initiates the process to seal the data world and everyone and everything along with it. Maleficent using the lifeboat to go back into the future was the catalyst to the self-destruct mechanism to be activated, and it cannot be stopped. This of course shocks you all, but thinking back to Ava, knowing that they will not throw you away like this, you guys regain your determination and fight the darkness. After the battle, it comes back again, saying that it cannot be destroyed for it is formless. It then spawns more Darklings, who this time have found their you. It's Ventus. Why? I don't know. Okay, that might explain it. So, after Darkness used Ventus to reshape itself, Ventus became a being of pure light. And with that, Ventus sacrifices himself to reshape Darkness and give it a form that can be beaten. Meanwhile, back in the real world with Darkness 1, they go to check the data. That is until Luciu, carrying something wrapped in a white mantle, enters the scene. As Luciu does his thing, Darkness asks why he's here, since he was told to observe. Luciu says the master told him to be here, to watch but not act, look but not touch. Adding that he finally understands what the master meant when he said that. He opens one of the pots and puts the white mantle in it. In that mantle is, in his words, a seed of light to be planted in the future. The true Dandelion. Next cutscene is a conversation sometime before all of this. It's a convo between the Master of Masters and Darkness, where they go about the Master's plan with the world. Darkness finds it odd that the Master would do all this since he has the Book of Prophecies, which is basically having the answers to everything. The Master then says that the Book of Prophecies doesn't contain all of the future and only contains the things No Name sees. The Master also says that what really matters is the point of time that things are written and how to get there. He then goes over the stipulations of time travel with the lifeboat, stating that Luxu and No Name are his mediums. The book contained a waypoint and he used Luxu and No Name to get to said waypoint, which is not his final goal, but an important step he will not take alone. The 7 pots and the 7 crowns for the 7 lights. Who are the lights? Well, allow me to speak for myself and the Master hear this once and say, shit, I don't know either. The Master then mentions seeing something interesting in the future. He describes it as a world he can't even conceive. Going back to the dandies, Ventus is in a comatose state and Skuld, Ephemer and Yu stand in front of his door hoping he's okay, until someone approaches. In Ventus's room, Laurium is talking and apologizing to him for his outburst against him. But as he is about to feel anger again after the thought of Darkness becoming part of Ventus, we get this little scene. Afterwards, Laurium is called to come outside, for someone is here to see him. It's Arena. Her charity claims to have seen Strelitzia. Her story goes that a few days ago she saw her, or someone who looked like her, walking toward town with someone in a black coat. They discuss this further in the chamber. With the description of the black coat, it is immediately deductible for them to be either Luxu or the Master, even though they shouldn't be here. Brain then quickly remembers that there are data versions of people and thinks that the Strelitzia Arena's charity saw was the data version someone else got access to. They say that they will probably get more answers in the real world and suggest using the lifeboat. Brain does worry about what Darkness said about it being linked to the world's end. Ephemer says that there's no time to think about that, and so they go to the basement. After Luxu sends the true Dandelion to the future, he starts his next step, and Darkness asks him why they spent their time training the wielders only for them to be abandoned. Luxu gives a big IDK to that, since he also doesn't know what the Master's thinking. All he knows is that he doesn't like the Darkness, just like Darkness doesn't like light. He then asks to Darkness what their plan is, which is to spread through the data world using its signals and accompany the Chosen One into the future and lay claim to worlds that aren't created yet. In other words, expansion. Again. So if this happened, Darkness would be there no matter what place or time Luxu would go. So of course he's not okay with that, and as Luxu is about to dispose of the Darkness, he lets us in on a little bit of info. Darkness had a form when the Master was young, but they abandoned that form to defeat the light, causing Darkness to be a whole. Afterwards, they realized that, whether as one or as a whole, their will wouldn't be maintained, cause the longer Darkness remains without a tangible form, the more their will dwindles. This is why Darkness still needs a physical form. So basically they just steal the body of those with hearts, which Luxu calls sad and pathetic. He then goes on to say this: besides you, there are 5 other shadows with individual will. I know at least one is in the data world, so where are the other 4? Darkness then tells him that 6 shadows remained after the war and found themselves in the data world. The Darkness, or shadow, that Luxu is confronting right now is the only one in the real world, therefore the only one standing in his way. And with that, chaos is about to ensue. Back at the data side, they reach the basement where the lifeboat is at. Brain checks on the data world and it's, not looking well. As you're all seeing this, Scald asks what to do with the rest of the Dandelions. Brain's answer is that they'll go to sleep. Explanation: as they were taught by Ava, when a world falls to darkness, it goes into slumber. And in Brain's words, if something causes this world to freeze, it can be rebooted and restored. But then that leaves the problem of using the lifeboat, since they don't know where the thing is they need to go after. With the situation at hand, the gang splits up. Not gonna go too much into detail with the reasoning for the formation, but basically, Brain goes to the real world to check on the worlds and save everyone. Laurium, Arena, and the still unconscious Ventus go with him. You and Scald stay with Ephemer in the data world. Before the group splits, Brain gives Ephemer the Book of Prophecies and his Keyblade. We go back to the cutscene where Luciu gets the black box. Before Luciu leaves, the Master tells him about darkness shedding its body and attacking hearts, which claimed the lives of a lot of the Master's allies. He refers to the loss of will part, which led them to now, and then says this: from 7, all is fulfilled. From 13, chaos is born. Without form, they spread throughout and became a whole. The ones that continued to spread and derived their own forms became the Heartless, while those without forms developed individual will. And now, the Formless yearn to take over the bodies of those with strong hearts. You can't destroy darkness if it has no form, which is why you need a vessel with a strong heart. That's where the Master and his apprentices come in. And it is here where the Master of Masters tells Luciu his plan to take down the Darknesses. As addressed multiple times by now, to destroy darkness it needs a physical form. So the Master trained the Foretellers and Luciu to become strong enough to withstand the darkness, even if the darkness took over their hearts. He then used the passage of the book about the traitor to plant doubt in the Foretellers' hearts. This was to bait the darkness into them. After the Keyblade War, the Foretellers, the Master, and Luciu would then go their separate ways and destroy the darkness within their hearts and wherever they end up. As for the remaining 6, 5 of them would target the Union leaders, and the last one will be trapped in the data world. This sets Luciu off, for he thinks the sacrifice is too great. The Master tells him not to let his emotion cloud his judgment, and that he knows how it is to see someone taken over by darkness. Furthermore saying, this isn't some heroic tale about the battle between light and darkness. is about honoring the dignity of those with hearts. He also says that he has a safety plan and isn't planning on sacrificing anyone. Luxu then leaves with the box. The master calls him the key to the future and then says this. Back to present day. Brain, Arena, Laurium, and Ventus have returned to the real world. As Brain is looking for a way to get everyone out of there, he finds out he can't save them all at once. But before he goes on a different route, he gets Laurium and the others out of this world, giving their regards and hopes before they depart. Laurium, Ventus, and Arena have escaped the end of the world. Though as they're about to depart, the area starts shaking. And then Luxu shows up. Meanwhile, back at the data world, where you, Scold, and Ephemer still reside in, you guys are waiting for Brain, hoping they manage to arrive safely. Until... the other four darknesses show up. They say they're not here to fight and ask of you to open the gate. By that they mean they want us to open a portal to the bridge leading to this game's central station, so they can continue their infection plan. Ephemer refuses, of course, and you guys gear up for battle. But before it starts, Ephemer tells you that when the battle starts, you have to get into one of the pods and get out of the data world, for at least one of them has to make it out of here. And then, something suddenly changes with you. It seems your heart has been lost to the darkness you fought at the chamber. Darkness says it will give your heart back if Ephemer opens the gate. Ephemer still doesn't budge, and your final battle is against your own friends. We go back to Luxu and Brain. Luxu asks him a few questions, and eventually Brain tells him about what he's doing, getting his friends out of there and survive for as long as he can to wake up as many people stuck in the data world as possible, after the world has gone to slumber. But then Luxu drops a bombshell on us. Since the data world was made as a trap for darkness, it has no possibility of being woken up. Once the data world falls to darkness, it'll permanently remain so. Luxu then tells Brain about the requirements for time travel, and then asks him if he was aware of this and if he has a plan for this. As Brain tells him he'll figure it out no matter the time it takes, Luxu calls him smart, and says it's a shame his lifetime is the only one he's got. Back into the data world, Ephemer carries Scold into one of the pods and they both return to the real world. In the meantime, you and the Darknesses are now at the bridge between the Data World and Game Central Station. The Darknesses compliment the darkness within you for getting Ephemer to open the gate and wait for it to leave your body. You then start laughing. For you finessed the Darknesses. You faked your possession and sacrificed yourself to get Ephemer and Skull to safety. You quickly closed the way towards the central station. Ephemer had already closed the other way, which means you have successfully trapped yourself with the 4 Darknesses. While that happens, Ephemer and Scald arrive at the real world. The area is on the verge of collapsing and Brain and Luciu are nowhere to be found. They decide to go outside to look at Daybreak Town, and the view is pretty sad and traumatic. We then get our last flashback of the Master. Darkness calls the Master hard to understand. And the Master then says this: a chessboard makes for a small world. Easy to understand, easy to control. Now imagine it expands slowly, one fairy tale at a time without end or limit. No matter how large the world grows, no matter how many countless lives are spent expanding it, darkness spreads to every corner. It's kinda unfair, really. We can run and we can hide, but you always seem to stick with us every step of the way. Darkness then asks where the Master will run off to next. The Master says to a world he can't even conceive, one where neither light and darkness rule. He then says, people want to believe in the future, even if they won't be around to see it. I want to believe too. Believe in a world beyond what we can imagine, a world of fiction. The Master then refers to the world as one where voices and sight can't reach, a world. Back to present time, Ephemer and Skull prepare to leave Daybreak Town. Okay, so Data Daybreak Town has been sealed. The actual Daybreak Town has been destroyed. Brain and Lucio are nowhere to be found. The Dandelions have turned into Dream Eaters. You're basically dead. And everybody else has escaped through the lifeboat. Now that only begs the question, what was their eventual destination? Well, let's start with Ephemer. It seems that his pod unfortunately malfunctioned. He arrived somewhere after the destruction, in the middle of the ruins of what used to be Daybreak Town. Maleficent returns to her own time, about a year after the events of Kingdom Hearts 1, and with the memories the fairies have of her and the cloak she left behind serving as her medium, Maleficent makes her return in Kingdom Hearts 2. Lauriam and Aurena successfully arrive at an unspecified time period and somehow manage to get recompleted. It is unknown what they do afterwards, but they eventually become nobodies and get recruited into Organization 13 by Xigbar. Ventus ends up in the middle of a wasteland, and we see an unknown person walking towards them. But I think it is safe to say that that's Xehanort. And lastly, we see Lucio with the black box. Now hold on, it's a Kingdom Hearts game. We get a secret ending. In said ending, we see Brain in a completely new area. He is then greeted by a mysterious person named Sigurd. According to Sigurd, in his words, it was decided that Brain would arrive here after escaping the destruction of Daybreak Town, and that they would welcome him. Brain then asks where his other friends are, but according to Sigurd, he is the only one to arrive at this time. Sigurd then goes to show Brain a little something.